And thanks all for joining today's session. And it's been a pleasure. I hope you all are enjoying the conference as I am. It's a great conference. I don't miss it. It's across the nation multiple times, but so many interesting and innovative topics. It's really a great contribution to the AI community, big data community. So my name is Shahidul Mannan. I am the head of engineering, data engineering and innovation at Partners Enterprise Data Organization, DAO. And today I'm going to talk about AI in healthcare, but mainly talking about how data transformation is helping with the digitization and the AI revolution in healthcare, and is going to be continue to be. So the key areas I'm going to touch are generally some of the industry trends that we're seeing in the big data. Many of you are well aware. I'll just refresh that a little bit. And the key drivers and some of the key focus of the healthcare AI and healthcare data transformation. Then I'll talk a little bit about how we go about developing AI and big data strategy in healthcare, in general business or enterprise, and then focusing on healthcare. And the reason being is it is transformational, and it requires a lot of focus on key strategic areas as well as tactical approach. And we will see that how, as much as all the enterprise, all the healthcare organizations are very excited and in the journey of this transformation, how much uncertainty there still remains, and how much risk of failure, or how much unpreparedness are still out there. So we want to be very crafty about how we approach this digitization through big data and AI. I'll go over some of the use cases if time permits, and then take any question and answer. And if not here, you can always reach me at LinkedIn and we can continue the conversation there. So I'll just start that. Can you see my screen okay? So I just wanted to start with how our digital interactions are exploding across the board. And I think you all have seen it in many ways and heard it in many articles and presentations, and many in these as well. I'll just touch base that just the interaction through the mobile devices, through our various IoT devices day to day, as well as at work, the interactions that Google used to monitor had been rising exponentially. It was in the 200s not too long ago in 2010, and we are projecting to cross or reach 5,000 every day in the next 5 years. So that also means that as the internet and as the connectivity across devices, across the billions of people in the world are increasing, it is producing more and more data footprint from our day-to-day activities, from our interactions, our financial and clinical exchanges or transactions. And while this data is going to be very meaningful from an AI perspective and from an analytics and decision-making perspective, it brings in a lot of new challenges as well. How do we manage this data? And that's why it's very critical today, if not yesterday, that organizations are prepared to manage this data better and manage this to their advantage to increase their competitive advantage. In the healthcare especially, to manage the cost that we always hear about and we see increasing exponentially, that is impacting not only the affordability, but also the quality in many ways. So with that, we are projecting, or the industry is projecting, that we already have entered the zettabytes world of data. And by 2020, we are almost towards the end. We are reaching towards 50 zettabytes, which is many, many zeros after our well-known petabytes, or exabytes. And it is going to increase 2-3-fold in the next 4 or 5 years. But yet we see that most of the CEOs are worried that they are behind in this data management and AI innovation journey. 60% from IBM's survey thinks that they are behind. And even the ones that are failing to act, they are not taking the full advantage of this data in their digitization journey. At least 20% are predicted to fail in this journey. So how do we, and it is going to have similar impact and ticking down, if not more, actually, on the healthcare industry. And we are seeing that the data analytics overall market has increased. The investment in from the VCs and in data analytics, AI innovation in healthcare has increased exponentially, and it is going to increase over the next decade with the EHR and some of the other key drivers, healthcare costs that we mentioned, and on the regulatory or service and federal various health program side, the Affordable Care Act really has a big impact, accountable care and pay for performance, value-driven care. All these are going to drive the organizations, if not already, to become more and more data-driven, more and more predictive in nature, and hence AI is becoming more and more critical in healthcare as well. And I mentioned innovation, just a quick look, that 80% almost increase on VC investments in healthcare related startups on digitization. And it has been since 2010 increasing in not only trends, but overall volume and success stories. So there's been overall more than 5,000 by now, actually, deals that has been invested by the VCs or that has been supported by the VCs, and that amounts to $47 billion. And quarter over quarter, from last quarter of 2019 to first quarter of 2020, and then the COVID actually had larger impact in some areas, but we don't have the full data yet, has increased 80% to from 1.6 billion to almost 3.5 billion by the early quarter of this year. So all these are, again, focused on digitization on the various devices that are the IoT-driven devices, the whole EHR and user experience automation, the mHealth revolution that's happening. And a big focus is, as you can see, on analytics. It's been the second highest investment area. And I think by end of the year, if not already, it will probably reach the top. Telemedicine certainly picked up a lot with COVID, as we all know, for good reasons, and have been tremendously valuable in continuing the healthcare, continuing the patient care, as well as focusing on building out the next generation of tools and technologies to provide better healthcare, better patient experience. So the opportunities in healthcare are enormous because the data is enormous. And one other thing I have seen, and you all have experienced, I'm sure I'm in the same way, is that in healthcare, the big part of the data challenge is that most of the data is in unstructured form, in image form, or in some streaming data form, which is difficult to harvest in the traditional technology stack. And that's why unleashing those is going to be a big part of this AI journey in healthcare. And unleashing that data will open up almost another 80%, which constitutes almost 80% of the data in healthcare world. So it'll open up almost fivefold the data opportunities. And that will lead to so much innovation once we get over this hump of managing the data in the healthcare space, and then diving and focusing more and more, spending more and more time actually on the innovation and AI aspect of things. So delivery optimization and efficiency, as you can imagine, from supply chain to overall hospital management to patient care, improving the diagnostics through AI by more predicting the various diseases and be prepared and proactive in managing those from sepsis to cancer. Risk and utilization management, again, risk from a regulatory perspective, that's also big, from fraud detection, and also managing the utilization of resources of our capacity, all those combined to help with the utilization and reduce the cost, improving the quality of care and patient engagement. So becoming more patient-centric, building that patient 360, which we always have been dreaming about, but has not been able to do it as optimally as we would like to. We have done it well in the structured world, getting the data from the EHR and building that transaction-based transaction information or clinical information-based patient's view. But we want to go more. We want to connect it with other data points of the patients, from the diagnostics data to bedside health devices, to wearable health devices, to various images and other genomic data. All these combined, once we have better and better view of the patient, we can engage better, we can treat better, and we can also cure better by analyzing, understanding, and driving those for more innovative AI solutions. So that's where the industry is moving towards and focused on. So I think I talked a lot about these, so I'll skip through that for the sake of time. That in general, the data explosion that's happening is certainly is a reality in healthcare. It brings in enormous opportunity, but it comes with its own challenges of managing the data with its volume, variety, velocity, veracity, all the known challenges that comes with big data, and then enabling the data scientists and enabling the organization to innovate fast on that is the biggest challenge that we have today. And that also comes with other data management challenges with data governance, and now with more AI governance, ethics, and other more important regulatory HIPAA, PHI rules management within the data construct, and also finding the right talent and resources as we want to transform fast and go into the new world of AI with all the new cloud, big data, and data science capabilities. And again, a lot more data about, so much data, but the organizations and healthcare are just not able to unleash and harvest it to the extent possible. Almost 80% of the time that is spent today by data scientists or business analytics teams who should more be focused on innovation and solving the actual problem are actually spending most of their time, 80% and more in some cases, in just managing, harvesting, and preparing the data. And even though it is pretty established that data-driven companies have not only been more efficient, better customer service or patient experience provider, but also has been more productive and earning more revenues. But yet, only 10% of the companies, and if not less, have the proper view of their customer or patient information and patient data in one place. So I think time-wise, we will be pretty challenged. So I'll jump quickly over the next few, quickly touching on the strategy part. And I think you're all, in some ways, have seen various forms of this analytics maturity curve that Gartner is a big proponent of in the early days. And where we are looking at is how the data is transforming the capability on analytics. Essentially, we started with the operational BI on the more structured data, and which is what we call historical data. And that is essential to understand where the business is today in terms of finances, marketing, customers, patient, cost, and all those good things, which we still need. It's bread and butter of what we do. But then with the big data explosion and the capabilities of data science, we are moving more and more towards predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. How can we predict a patient outcome? When a patient comes to the hospital, can we predict the risk of having sepsis outbreak or sepsis infection for that particular patient? And if we can predict it even by a few hours, if not days, that can make a huge difference, life and death difference in patients' care and patients' outcome. So that's how the Gartner's curve, as it's moving from operational BI to more predictive intelligence, our big data and the drivers of all this information available now within the healthcare world is going to drive us more towards on the predictive and data science, and eventually the AI side of the capabilities. And quickly touching on the strategic view, I always like to touch on Davenport's data strategy, where Davenport essentially mentions that there are defensive strategy and there is offensive strategy. And defensive essentially is focused on more risk management, security, privacy, regulatory compliance, and governance side, while offense is more focused on the competitive positioning and profitability. Now, the question would come that any organization would want to do more on both sides, right? We need our baseline survival with the compliance and regulatory and risk management, but we want to also move forward with better care, with better customer patient acquisition and service, and hence profitability or cost optimization. But this is more focused towards more basic type of segmentation in terms of strategic approach. And so the core activities, of course, on the defense side is more focused on data extraction, standardizing, storing, and compliance, monitoring, governance. And on the offense side, it's more about optimizing how we can understand the market better, model the data better, and predict and visualize. So from that end, offense side of things is a little more advanced and forward-looking, a little more flexible, and a little more flexible in architecture, flexible in the offering. So and I am going over multiple topics. I know this is a great crowd, so I'm not covering so much on the basic stuff. But the concept of data always lies that we know that we need a single version of truth to actually have clear, and more enterprise-wide data in one place, that is master data, or that be, the clear centralized store in a central data storage, like the data lake. Now, once we have that, then we can drive that other derivatives of that data to provide other information set from one single version of truth. And the advantage of that is, you know the data better, and you can manage it better, manage the risk around it, govern it better. But what we are seeing, and what Davenport is also supporting, is that the single version of truth is such enormous and initial foundational work is also in a way more time consuming. So mostly the defensive type of strategy focuses on that, while the offensive strategy, where you need clear and quicker movement, and you need more innovation. Think of retail, Amazon. They kind of shy away from that, and it is okay for them in some cases, or more beneficial for them, I should say, to go for an MVOT type of data architecture or data backbone, which is multiple versions of the truth. So that is also needs to be well governed, and we'll talk about the governance a little bit if time permits. But the clear, I think, driver or clear enabling architecture for these two types of strategy would be around these two types of data enablement. And mostly you see, and where we are today is that the hospitals and the healthcare is more on the defense side. Of course, we are highly regulated industry and have a lot more mission critical aspect of our offering, because it's a patient's life and cure. So we are more on the defense side, whereas the retails, think Amazon, I think Macy's of the world, who can innovate, or who has more flexibility to kind of play with the customer's data, building their 360 view or predict. And if the prediction is wrong, you just don't sell on that space. So their risk from that end is much, much less from a mission critical perspective. So they are more on the offense side. And banks are kind of weighing on both, because they have to be aggressive on the customer acquisition side, but they're also a pretty significantly regulated industry. But what I have seen and talking to the industry experts is that, in a way, this is the fundamental approach in strategy. But the most effective one is, of course, you can't just focus on one area. Most effective one is finding that right balance between these two approach and figuring out what's most practical for implementation, as well as most value added for your organization and for your business objective. And that is where the key focus of the strategy needs to be, to assessing what is your business objective, what are the key pain points that you're trying to solve, or the value offering that you want to focus on, and based on that, look at these two approach and find out more of a balanced, combined approach that meets, your key business objective and aligns with it. And it can actually be in across the industries, but there would be certain bias because of the focus of the industry, as we have seen earlier. Being in healthcare will probably always play into more defensive because of the criticality, mission criticality of our application, as well as the various regulations and patient information, which is extremely important for us to protect from a privacy, HIPAA, PHI perspective. So a few other slides, I'll just glance quickly, talking about what are the key areas when we talk about a digital transformation in healthcare. What are the key areas we want to look at? So I mentioned about the single version of truth briefly. And when you are looking at the next generation of digital capability, you want to look at the data backbone, and you want to make sure that you have a good footprint where you can bring all your data, the version of truth, in one place. And that is the data lake. That is the new, if not, it's not super new. The first one I've done is probably 6-7 years old now. So it is something new or getting more of essential in healthcare, that having a data lake where we can bring all the data in one place and make that a single version of truth and drive all the data-driven activities, be it on operational BI side, be it on real-time analytics side, or building out data as a service as API for various digital health applications, and building out data science and AI capabilities. So you manage the data in one place, it's more cost effective, and you have the capability now in one place to navigate from patients' structured clinical information, EHR data, to their image data, and eventually maybe their social interaction or social media interaction as well, where there is value with that. And definitely the bedside devices, the wearable devices, the various IoT device streaming data that can come together, so we can build more and more predictive and innovative and real-time analytic solutions for our patients, for our providers, again, for the same reasons, for efficiency, cost management, better care, better quality of service. And governance is a key because in healthcare, like any other, and again, being mission critical, it's very important that we have the more reliable, unbiased, and better managed, well-governed, trusted data. And the best way to handle that is, of course, putting up a data governance structure framework around it, putting a data quality program around it. And with the new cloud data lake and big data and the innovative ways that the data quality and data governance tools are coming together, all these combined, now we are in a much better shape than before to do that more effectively on the big data world and have better and more reliable AI and algorithms that can drive better decisioning, better predictions. I'm going a little fast because of our time constraints, and I do want to give a few minutes for any questions. So at Mass General Brigham, where I am now, and the data analytics organization where I'm building out the next generation big data and AI backbone capability, the cloud technology-driven data lake, and subsequently the various self-service data science capabilities. There, we are focusing on a multi-year digitization program based on kind of driving across the lines of strategic components that I talked about. And our goal is to create a consistent experience, optimize our overall investment, certainly looking at the cost and care and value-based care, balancing all those together, and capturing the industry investment in a more meaningful way. So having the privilege of sitting on a gold mine of data with our 16 hospital systems and the top-notch research organizations across the nation, we are on the edge of building out next generation of innovation in healthcare with this data, and we want to share it, commercialize it, so it can have more impact in the healthcare industry as a whole. programs are towards patient experience, building more research and development, diagnostics to cure or treatment, proactive management of proactive detection and management of diseases, and then optimizing our operations to reduce the cost and improve the quality. Those would be our key focus on the program. And it's also based on the, I would say, general and common pillars that can drive a digitization, a data-driven transformation. That is the technology, the framework, the data science, the data itself, which we've been talking about quite a bit, and then the research to gather more and more insights and innovative ideas on that. And on this multi-year journey, we want to focus on building the foundation first, while we look at some spot value adds, and then grow over it with more analytics enablement. And the final goal is to build out a self-service, highly data democratized organization where innovation can not only happen on the core arms of data scientists, but across the organization, it can be spread out. Wherever we have ideas, we can play with the data, we can play with building out the algorithm and come up with an innovation that then we can focus on investing more and growing more on those concepts. So that's the, I think, overall journey on our data. And our strategy is eventually to build the foundation, build heavy duty innovation, focus on heavy duty disruptive innovation, and enablement to democratize so the innovation continues. And there are tons of use cases, as you can imagine, in healthcare that is brewing. And we are certainly focused on, in various aspects of it, as the centralized organization for data enablement. We are focused on operational efficiency, but we are also focusing on patient 360, so we can build a better profile, as I was mentioning, for patient and navigate from clinical data to pharmaceutical to genomic diagnostics. And all these combined provide better preventive care through various predictive analytics and AI. Value-based quality care is certainly across the industry, and so we are focused on that. Population health to better manage and measure the disease trends, and now with COVID, actually, health equity is a big part of it. And we are focused on, again, through data to analyze, understand, and assess, and then through data to move towards enabling various service areas or strengthening where we need to, so we can, again, provide better service to the patient and the industry. There's tons. I think I'll share it afterwards. But again, on research side, more detective and predictive treatments, or first the diagnostics and detection, and then treatments, and then cost, fraud, financials, like any other industry. In healthcare, it's a huge one. A significant part of the healthcare cost increase is because of fraud and financial lack of financial optimization. So we have huge focus on those. I think we are close to time, but quickly I wanted to touch base on a few use cases that we are currently working on. So physician burnout is a big one. You may have heard it, that industry-wide physicians, as we are seeing the advantage and the benefit of EHR, electronic digitization, in the healthcare that was mandated by SEA. We're also seeing and hearing the burden it has put on our healthcare providers, mostly the physicians. They're working late nights to capture and put in the correct information of the patients. And that has caused tremendous challenge in provider satisfaction and burnout, and also causing risk in some ways. So we want to monitor it and intervene it and see how we can improve it. And actually, it has been found by Mayo Clinic that if we can identify the physicians who are suffering from this burnout by working too much, too late, and long hours on maybe putting in or capturing patient information on the EHR, or analyzing and gathering the information for the next day's surgery, it has been tremendously valuable by putting some intervention, be it an admin doing the work for the physician, and the burnout has gone down by almost 54%. So that has led us to this journey that how can we gather more and more data about our EHR user experience, as simple as it sounds, but it has tremendous impact. So our EHR is Epic, and we were collecting all the Epic click information, analyzing those, and then finding out, what are the user experience, how it's impacting the work hours by the physicians and providers, and where and what is the best way to intervene to provide the support, extra support that they may need. And this is also something that we are going to use for the training when we train the EHR with the healthcare professionals, nurses, and doctors, physicians mostly, and also building out better user experience by analyzing which screens or which clicks are taking longer and which functionalities are not as optimized. And this is an ongoing thing, but we want to focus heavily on this because the value is tremendous. Not only it's going to help minimize the risk, increase the provider satisfaction, and with a satisfied provider, we can provide better healthcare, better outcome, better patient experience.